Alright everybody, this is like my 8th take filming this video. Every single time I've come off as an insane freak. So I need to get through this. This is the last attempt at this video. This is Hateful Twerp 3, we're going to talk about Karl Jobst. I'm just going to tell I'm going to tell you a few things about Karl Jobst you might not know if you're not from the GoldenEye speedrunning community. Which will give some context as to why I found it very funny that he lost his court case. And then after we're going to watch the verdict, we're going to react to it. I haven't seen it yet, so it'll be all new to me. I also haven't watched any of his Billy Mitchell videos, because I can't watch Karl's YouTube videos because he speaks with sort of an insane, flat sort of affect that is not his normal speaking voice. It's bizarre. It's totally bizarre how he speaks like monotone and flat when he narrates. I don't know if it's like a conscious choice like the Burger King foot lettuce guy, or if he just like can't read properly and so he can't do his normal voice, if it's like an unconscious thing. But anyway, it's probably intentional. Anyway, I don't really like Karl. I think he's a dweeb and a grifter. I think he fancies himself an alpha male when he really is kind of just like a nerd. Kind of just like a nerd and kind of like weak and highly emotional. Which is why a lot of people in the GoldenEye community have a problem with him. He has not been in the community for many years. He left. I'm not going to get into why he left, but he destroyed his entire presence. He destroyed everything online about himself except for his speedruns. But all of his forum posts are gone, his Discord, he got rid of all of it. But Samo Sammy remembers. Samo Sammy remembers everything. Anyway, the whole point of this video is just to have a good time. It's to have some laughs. The primary purpose of this video is as an entertainment video. I'm just going to try and crack some jokes at the whole situation because it's all ridiculous. And I'll show you some funny Karl stuff. But yeah, he's a very abrasive sort of person. It's very difficult for people to be friends with him because of sort of the way he behaves. And I can't really pull up any like concrete examples because he destroyed everything. But anyway, not a fan of the guy. And I think sort of like it was inevitable that eventually he would kick himself in the dick like he has done in this situation. So it's like personally, I think defamation laws are like bullshit. Personally, I think they're bullshit. But I think most laws are bullshit because I think taxation is theft. So I'm like an insane person. I'm like an insane libertarian freak. But so like in a perfect world, Karl does not have to pay 400 grand to Billy Mitchell. But we don't live in a perfect world. We know the world we live in, and so, he sort of brought this on himself. He should have known better than to do this. Because Billy Mitchell, obviously, a laughable individual. Anyway, I don't want to get too rambling, lost in the weeds. I've filmed this video so many times, so quick history on Karl. He's been GoldenEye speedrunning forever, since like 2000, maybe even earlier. And then he left the community and he became a YouTuber and he found a lot of success and he sort of left it all behind. Now he's just a YouTuber. That's fine, but along the way, there was many a forum thread where he would get into these insane arguments with people. Sort of the most famous one would be he argued with Mark Rutsu a lot when Mark Rutsu had sort of a schizo meltdown. Anyone familiar with sort of the speed law history or some of the really old Goose videos, will know the story of Mark, how he got involved in this thing called the Ultimate Truth Contest, or the Truth Contest, and the Ultimate Truth, like just sort of your typical crazy internet schizo thing. And Karl argued a lot back and forth with him. Mark called him the pale pussy populist, which really sums him up perfectly. You know, for all of Mark's flaws, he really boiled Karl down to his creamy nougat center with that statement. Anyway, so he's you know, he's kind of an abrasive person within the GoldenEye community, but he's also a grifter. He's been grifting a long time, unsuccessfully. You know, he's been like scheming about how to make money on the internet for a long time, and yeah. So I'm going to talk about some of his grifts, and then we'll watch the verdict. You know, I could go on and on about more negative things about Karl. I'm not going to. I guess you could do your own research, and you could certainly dig up a lot more sort of controversial stuff about him. I'm not going to reproduce it here. I don't think it's quite fair to reproduce that stuff here, but I think it is absolutely fair to produce this thing I'm about to show you right now. This... I'm already laughing. Okay, so I want to talk about 2 Karl Jobst grifts. I got to put the headphones on. 2 Karl Jobst grifts. Right before he started making sort of you know, videos about speedrunning news and new record stuff, you know, kind of like before he started doing the sort of summoning salt or goose sort of style video, he did make this video. This, I don't have it. You can try, maybe you can find it yourself, but he had this idea that he's gonna go viral with a video titled, playing guitar while bouncing a ball on my head. Which is so harebrained that it's like it's a joke. It's like it's a joke about it's like it's brilliant satire on the vapidness of the modern YouTubing environment. This would have been around 2017, 2018. But it was like real. He's like, I'm gonna do this and it's gonna go viral. I'm gonna make money on YouTube, making viral videos like this. And it's just him in his living room bouncing a ball, like a soccer ball in his head, playing guitar. That's funny. That's perfectly emblematic of like who this man is. He's just laughable, and I'm sorry if this video is coming off as bullying, but it's too funny. I'm sorry, it's too funny to me. Is it not? You know, and if you only know him from YouTube, you don't know that he did that, and it's just funny. That's just like hilarious to me. Anyway. Long before that, he did a pickup artistry grift, which is what we're going to watch here first before we get into the verdict. And so it was called Approach Her Now, and the idea is, you know, you have all this anxiety about approaching women, and if you can overcome that, then like the world's your oyster, you know. That's like, once you get past that barrier, then you won't have any problems. And so this is his own ideas about how to reduce that approach anxiety. And it's Approach Her Now. You just go and you just like do it. That's like the primary idea. But it's like, it's styled exactly like the videos you'd see on certain not so good websites, right? Where you know, there'd be like it's like black and red text on a white background like this, and it's like, here's how you can use this weird psychological trick to convince any woman to sleep with you. This one weird loophole in the female brain will allow you to completely control her. But be warned, this technique is so powerful that you may actually become addicted to manipulating women. It's like these videos that existed, these are little pop-up ads you'd get on certain websites back in the day. And it's like he's parodying those, but he's just genuinely copying them. So anyway, let's watch. This is his sort of introductory video to introduce you to the Approach Her Now pickup artistry course. It was, of course, a thing you had to buy the PDF or whatever, or maybe the PDF was free, but like part of it he would offer coaching. He would offer dating coaching for $200 an hour or whatever. And meanwhile, it's just like, it's this dweeb. It's this GoldenEye dweeb. He's just a GoldenEye loser like you and me, you know? So, like, it's funny that he would be making a pickup artistry thing. Anyway, let's watch a little bit of this.
Hi, Karl Jobst here, creator of ApproachHerNow.com. And if you're looking to increase your level of confidence around women and decrease the amount of anxiety you feel when you want to approach women, you've come to the right place. I have specifically created this website to help men who want more dates, relationships, and sex in their life, but just can't seem to make it happen because the act of approaching a woman is too difficult.
The zoom
we
in.
can just go out and approach, we're going to get a lot of success.
Now, let me just, like, we're not going to watch this whole thing, but we are going to watch another Approach Her Now video. Notice how he's speaking here. Listen to how he speaks in his videos. At least his early ones. I don't know, I haven't watched his late ones, but I assume they're not much better. Like, he's speaking normally here.
And this is true for many reasons. And this is why it is so frustrating when we can't approach.
Frustrating.
We know that if we just get over this one obstacle, everything is going to be okay.
Anyway, he goes on. This goes on for a little while. He introduces his system. Anyway, this isn't the funny one. This is sort of his intro. Here's his funny one. This is him showing off his technique. This is an initial technique you can use to get over approach anxiety. It's an exercise you can do to sort of exposure therapy to meeting women. And I've skipped to the middle here, and we're just going to watch a couple of these. This is some of the funniest things ever made. If this were a joke, if this were a parody or a joke, it would be one of the most brilliant pieces of satire ever produced. Unfortunately, it's real. So it's some of the cringiest shit ever. Let's watch.
Hey guys.
Can't get their attention.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. I don't want to bother you. I just want to say I thought you were really, really cute.
She
just want
is
to
the
say
most
that.
beautiful person I've ever seen, so I
Agreed. Thank you. See you guys.
So the method is, you go up to random women, you give them a compliment, and then you walk away. And, you know, it probably does work. It probably does reduce your anxiety, but it's just so funny to see a GoldenEye speedrunner out in the public doing this. It's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. It's hard to watch.
Hey, guys, don't want to bother you. Just want to say I think you are really, really cute. Have a good night.
The walking away is
Guys,
so crazy.
Sorry, I don't want to bother you. Just want to say you are really, really sexy.
Oh!
Just want to say you are really, really sexy.
Oh! You see, when he's just saying, I think you're really cute, it's mostly harmless. It's a little funny. But then he says, I think you're sexy. And you feel your skin crawl. You feel like, your body tenses up. It triggers a fight or flight response in you. Oh my god, let's watch one more. Nice cock shot.
Excuse me, guys. Sorry to bother you. I just wanted to say I think you are really, really cute. Have a good night. Hey guys. Don't mean to bother you. Just want to say that I think she's really, really cute.
Look at this guy.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt whatever you're doing there. I just wanted to say you are really, really cute. That's alright, have a good night. That's alright, have a good night. See ya. Alright, so you just saw me do a few approaches. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened now. So let's break it down into 4 simple parts. Step number 1, you're going to do something that's called an opening buffer.
Okay. Yeah, so you gotta do the opening buffer. You gotta say, sorry, I don't want to bother you guys. And then you gotta say the compliment. And then you gotta say thanks. And then you walk away. No matter what, you walk away. Anyway, this is just some funny stuff. This is who this man is. This is the Karl we know and love. This is not the Karl you get when you just watch his YouTube. This is the real Karl Jobst that we all know and love within the GoldenEye community.
Approach less intense initially. So, for example, you come up and say, "Hey guys, sorry, I don't mean to bother you. Bye."
Anyway, that's just funny stuff. Let's watch the verdict. Let's find out exactly what's going on between Karl Jobst and Billy Mitchell. All right, so let's get into it. I've skipped ahead a little bit, but nothing's happened yet. So let's watch, let's react, and I hope we have a great time. I'm sorry that I took 15 minutes to get to the actual reaction video, but here we go. Got some lady. Now, I haven't seen this at all, so I'm looking forward to it. I really hope Karl is there I hope Karl's in the vid. I don't know if he is, but I really hope he's there to get his judgment. Obviously, I don't think Billy Mitchell will be there. Okay, let's go. Let's get started.
Call letter, please. Yes, I might have appearances because I was seeking submissions afterwards.
May it please the court, my name is Summers, SOMERS, initial P, counsel instructed by Bennett Philp, and I appear for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's Billy Mitchell's.
Ward, initials MT, counsel for the defendant, and I'm instructed by Mills Oakley.
Thank you.
DeWard. So this is Karl's lawyers, and this is
Before I deliver
Billy
my
Mitchell's
judgment,
lawyers.
I'd like to apologise to the parties that it has taken so long since the trial to do so. As
Yeah,
the
you better
parties
be
will
sorry.
realise, the trial raised a lot of factual and legal issues, but they may not realise that I also had a number of other commitments during the months since the trial.
Well, well, no shit, dude. Who are you supposed to be working? He's been working night and day penning his 4,000-page document about the Billy Mitchell Karl Jobst case.
What I'm about to say is a summary of my reasons for judgment. I expect it'll take about half an hour. This summary should not be taken as a substitute for my full reasons, which will be published on the Queensland Court's website, together with a shorter summary later today.
I also have that document. I haven't read it. I might read it just personally
Mitchell
after the vid.
III, commonly known as Billy Mitchell, lives in Florida, United States of America. He has been well known among adherents of video and arcade gaming in many countries, including Australia, since 1982. At an arcade and video gaming competition in November that year that took place in Ottumwa, Iowa, USA, playing an arcade game called Donkey Kong,
Donkey
Mr.
Kong.
Mitchell scored a world record 874,300 points and was the first person ever recorded as reaching the kill screen, that is, reaching the end of the game. At the time, he
This
was
judge is very familiar with kill
of
screens.
age. Mr. Mitchell went on to be recognised as having achieved a number of world records and world firsts in video and arcade gaming.
Very true.
They
He
included
did do that.
achieving the first perfect score of 3,333,360 in another game called Pac-Man in 1999,
Man,
setting a new world record.
so I guess within this case, they covered the whole story. The entirety of the Billy Mitchell story was explained in this court case. This is great. You don't need to watch a single Karl Jobst video. You don't even need to watch the Apollo Legend videos. You can just watch this video and watch this old fuck explain the whole story from top to tail. This is very exciting.
And the first score of over 1 million points, the record being 1,047,200 points in Donkey Kong in June 2005.
I always says Donkey Kong.
1,050,200
He says it weird.
points in July 2007, and a third Donkey Kong world record of 1,062,800 points in July 2010. Those records were recognised by such bodies as Guinness World Records and Twin Galaxies,
Oh
which
yeah.
is an American
Oh
company
yeah.
that organises gaming competitions and keeps a database of records and rankings across various gaming platforms. In 2017, Mr. Mitchell was accused of having cheated in achieving his Donkey Kong world records by allegedly using computer emulation software instead of original arcade hardware. Twin Galaxies investigated the accusation, and in
Naughty,
April
naughty.
2018, it announced that it had concluded that 2 of Mr. Mitchell's world record scores were not produced by the direct feed output of an original, unmodified Donkey Kong arcade printed circuit board, or PCB.
Guys, this is shit covered by
It was
Apollo
unable to
Legend
determine
a decade
whether
ago.
The third score was produced on original arcade
Not quite,
gaming
but-
hardware or with the use of emulation software. As a consequence of its findings, it announced that it had decided to remove all of Mr. Mitchell's scores and to ban him from participating in its competitive leaderboards.
Okay.
The
I
following
knew- I-
day,
we all knew all
Twin
this.
Records announced that as a consequence of Twin Galaxies' decision, it too had disqualified Mr. Mitchell as the holder of all his records.
Does Todd Rogers get a call out? Get a shout out? Shout out to Todd Rogers.
Mr. Mitchell commenced proceedings in the United States for defamation against Twin Galaxies and a number of others. One of those lawsuits was against a young man, Benjamin Smith, who was known online as Apollo Legend.
Rest
I
in
refer
peace.
to him as Apollo Legend in my reasons. He published videos on YouTube about gaming.
I love how the judge is gonna call him Apollo Legend. The judge is gonna call him by the screen name. That's so crazy. That's so insane. If I ever kill myself and someone gets sued for someone gets sued for defaming someone for implying they caused it, I hope they use my real name. I hope they don't call me Samo Sammy or what other names do I go by? Gift shop guy.
including a number
That's
of
so
which
crazy.
accused Mr. Mitchell of cheating, falsifying his Donkey Kong scores, and not using legitimate gaming hardware. Mr. Mitchell and Apollo Legend settled that proceeding on 22 August 2020. Their agreement relevantly provided that Apollo Legend would remove all of his YouTube videos and social media posts that referred to Mr. Mitchell. He would assign the copyright in those YouTube videos to Mr. Mitchell, and he would permanently cease producing any oral, written, or electronic documents or communications that in any way mentioned or referred to Mr. Mitchell or his family, apart from making an agreed statement in terms provided in the settlement agreement. Any breach by Apollo Legend of the last of these obligations would result in him being liable to Mr. Mitchell for $25,000 for each breach. Unless he committed such a breach, he did not have to pay Mr. Mitchell any money. Apollo
Kind of a reasonable settlement. It is absolutely sort of suppression of Apollo Legends free speech. But, all in all, could have been worse. Could have been worse.
Legend appears to have complied with that agreement. However, on 20 December 2020, he published a video on YouTube, referred to in this proceeding as his goodbye video, in which he told viewers that he was recording his final video. He said, "This is the end of my life," and he explained why. In that video, he did not mention Mr. Mitchell, nor the claim against him or the settlement agreement. Shortly after publishing it, he committed suicide.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, because obviously that's not funny. I don't find that even remotely funny, that Apollo Legend killed himself. Quite the opposite. I'm not one to... I will certainly laugh at tragedies. Cue video of me doing the Norm thing where I say 9/11 and burst into laughter. But it's not funny that Apollo Legend killed himself. Not at all. But the fact that he's like... Then he committed suicide. The sip of water afterwards was funny to me. It reminded me of Norm when he apologized on The View, and he's like, "I realized at that moment that I had done something unforgivable," and then he pops a mint into his mouth. Anyway, let's continue.
The defendant, Karl Jobst, lives in Queensland. He regularly publishes videos on YouTube, mostly about speedrunning, but also about video and arcade gaming world records and people who cheat in those games. He has over 1 million followers on his YouTube channel.
He has not adhered to the seamy values. He's focusing on negative stories. Not very seamy, Mr. Jobst.
On 26 May 2021, he
Lucrative.
published a video about Mr. Mitchell and another video gamer, Todd Rogers.
Yes, Todd Rogers gets the shout out.
The biggest con men in video game history strike again. He accused Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Rogers of cheating and of pursuing unmeritorious litigation against people who had accused them of cheating.
Unmeritorious.
He also said the following about Mr. Mitchell. Quote, he also sued YouTuber Apollo Legend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but this lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Mitchell. He was forced to remove all his videos about Mitchell's cheating and paid him a large sum of money. This left him deeply in debt, which required him to find extra work. But with his ongoing health issues, this was all too much of a burden, and he ultimately took his own life. Not that Billy Mitchell would ever care, though. In fact, when Billy Mitchell thought Apollo died earlier, he expressed joy at the thought. The lawsuit against Apollo was just as frivolous as the rest, and Apollo definitely would have won in court. But again, he was extremely ill and couldn't handle the ongoing stress. End quote.
That's the statement? Holy shit. Karl. Oh my god. Yeah, that's bad, man. That is fucking bad. That's pretty bad. It contains, like, something factually wrong. It contains a factual error. Apollo Legend, as just stated, did not have to pay any money. So there was no financial burden. All he had to do was take the videos down, which, you know, is a burden of its own, but it is an emotional burden, not a financial one. And then, yeah, damn, that's brutal. That is a brutal statement to make. Not that Billy would even care. Call me crazy. I don't think there's a man alive that, would be, like, totally indifferent to, like, a young man killing himself. Like, yeah, absurd statement. That's brutal. That is brutal. Hyperbolic and brutal.
That video containing that passage was online for 10 days from 26 May 2021 to 4 June 2021, and for an additional 5 days from 9 June to 13 June 2021. In between those dates, and since 13 June 2021, the video has remained online, but it contains only the first 2 sentences and the last sentence of the passage that I have just read.
So he edited the message because it was so brutal.
Online in its full version, 2 relevant events occurred. First, on 3 June 2021, Mr. Mitchell published his own YouTube video in response to Mr. Jobst's video. He denied as lies.
Remember YouTube response videos where you could actually do it would actually be, like, linked on the page? Those were awesome. This is a great feature. Let's bring that back.
The assertion that Apollo Legend had paid him any money as part of the settlement, or that he had had any involvement with Apollo Legend that had led him to commit suicide. He asserted that Mr. Jobst had effectively accused him of murder. He ended the video by saying, quote, I plan to respond the way that everybody anticipates for me to respond. And Karl, expect me. End quote.
That's just funny. He's a funny guy, Billy.
A mutual acquaintance of Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Jobst.
Ridiculous and pathetic, but very... I've gone out of focus again. Billy Mitchell is pathetic and ridiculous, but that's also very, 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 very funny.
Known online as Keemstar.
Dude! I swear to God, Keemstar is the main character of the internet. Every single significant internet story, he's woven in it somewhere. There is some point where Keemstar will show up. It will just appear in every internet story. I missed the start of this sentence. I'm going to go back. But Keemstar always appears. He always shows up. He always appears. God, I love Keemstar. Main character of the internet, no question.
Acquaintance of Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Jobst, known online as Keemstar, contacted Mr. Jobst at Mr. Mitchell's request and told him that it was not true that Apollo Legend had paid Mr. Mitchell any money. Mr. Jobst agreed to take down that part of the video while he investigated that issue further. While not taking it all down,
Detective
he only
Karl
left
is on the
first
case.
and last sentences of the passage that I have read. He then emailed Apollo Legend's brother to ask him whether Apollo Legend had to pay any money to Mr. Mitchell as part of the settlement.
How about you leave his family alone? That's... Dude. Dude, if a family member of mine killed themselves and I got some cocksucking YouTuber emailing me for details about about his suicide, I would be so furious. I'd be fucking livid.
Mr. Mitchell's lawyers then served a concerns notice on Mr. Jobst, asserting that he had defamed Mr. Mitchell. In response, Mr. Jobst posted that letter on Twitter, claiming it to be very exciting and that any action would be an amazing experience.
So true, Carl. So true. I agree with that, actually.
Reinstated the original version of the video on his YouTube channel.
Oh, he puts the original back up.
13 June 2020.
So he gets a letter saying, a notice of concern, hey, you've defamed Billy Mitchell. And he's like, you know what? This is super exciting. I'm going to put the defamation back up in its full, unedited glory.
One that Apollo Legend's brother informed Mr. Jobst that Apollo Legend had not paid any money to Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Jobst then altered the video again to remove all except the first two and the last.
Oh, so then he gets the email back and he takes it back
version
out.
has remained on his YouTube channel since then.
Oh, man.
The video containing all of the offending passage was downloaded in the periods that it was online.
Always
Over
archive,
500,000
folks.
people, including over 20.
I'm playing this in VLC because I archived this video from this is the original stream. This isn't someone else's re-upload. I downloaded the original stream. Always archive interesting videos.
1,000 in Australia. Since then, over 8,000 comments have been made on the video, including at least 396 that, it may be said, accused Mr. Mitchell of causing Apollo Legend to commit suicide and even called him a murderer, evil, and a scumbag.
Taken down by your own fans, agreeing with you. That's rough stuff. That's rough stuff.
Similar comments have also been made on videos by other publishers on YouTube or other online media. The most recent that has been brought to my attention having been made in early 2024. In this action, Mr. Mitchell sues Mr. Jobst for defamation, claiming $400,000 in general damages and $50,000 in aggravated damages. Mr. Mitchell contends that the video, but particularly the passage that I have read, made 5 defamatory imputations about him. Those imputations were, first, Mr. Mitchell had required Apollo Legend to pay him a large amount of money to settle Mr. Mitchell's defamation claim against him,
Not
which
true.
caused Apollo Legend to go into considerable debt and to take on extra work to survive. Secondly, a major contributing factor in Apollo Legend's decision to take his own life was Mr. Mitchell's requirement that Apollo Legend pay him a large sum of money to settle the defamation claim.
Not true.
Third, Mr. Mitchell had hounded Apollo Legend to death. Fourth, Mr. Mitchell was the main
I don't know.
cause, or alternatively a cause, of Apollo Legend taking his own life. And fifth, Mr. Mitchell's
Probably
conduct
not.
was a contributing factor in Apollo Legend taking his own life.
Maybe.
Mr. Jobst denied that the imputations alleged by Mr. Mitchell were made in the video.
Well, that's not
Found
true.
that the video made each of those defamatory imputations. Mr. Jobst also defended the claim on a number of other grounds. First, he alleged that Mr. Mitchell had a pre-existing bad reputation, that any of the defamatory imputations alleged would not have harmed him. That reputation, Mr. Jobst alleged, was threefold. First,
So this is Karl's defense. Karl's defense against the defamation claim is that everyone hates him anyway. No, it's not a good argument.
Mr. Mitchell had cheated to gain recognition as the highest.
Everyone hates him because he cheated at Donkey Kong in the 80s, so it's cool. So his reputation's already in the toilet, so I can say he killed whoever I want.
Or one of the highest scorers in Donkey Kong.
No, that's exactly the kind of argument Karl would make. I can't. His lawyers should have known better than to bring that up. But that sounds exactly so Karl. That's such a Karl statement. It sums him up perfectly. Oh, it's brilliant.
He had used litigation processes to coerce others to recognize him as a world record holder in Donkey Kong, and to refrain from identifying him as a person who had been found to have cheated at video arcade games. And third, that he would ostracize anyone he considered a threat to his world records in Donkey Kong. As to his
he would ostracize what? How did Billy Mitchell doesn't have because of his horrible reputation, he doesn't have the ability to ostracize anyone from anything other than himself, which is obviously meaningless.
Pre-existing bad reputation. I have found that Mr. Mitchell did have a reputation as a cheat in Donkey Kong, and a reputation for suing people who alleged that he was a cheat. I have found that he did not have a reputation for ostracizing anyone he considered a threat to his achievements.
Okay.
Mr. Jobst's other principal defense was that the video made 5 other defamatory imputations, each of which was substantially true, and as a result of which, the imputations about which Mr. Mitchell complains did not cause any greater harm to him or his reputation.
So, this argument is that this is insane. He's really trying to couch it as he really did cheat at video games, because Karl knows that he can prove that, because Apollo Legend proved it fucking 6 years ago. So because he knows he can do that, he's arguing that if he can prove that the defamatory statements about his video game cheating, if those are true, then obviously they have destroyed Billy Mitchell so much. There was nothing left to destroy with my defamatory lies. It's like the most nonsense argument I've ever heard. It doesn't make any sense at all. It makes no sense whatsoever. How is this the primary defenses that they're going with? Like, what? How did his lawyers allow this? This is moronic.
Those imputations, which are referred to in defamation law in Queensland as contextual imputations, were, first, Mr. Mitchell was publicly exposed as having cheated to achieve his record scores in Donkey Kong.
Irrelevant.
Second, Mr. Mitchell was banned from submitting scores to Twin Galaxies.
Totally irrelevant.
Third, Mr. Mitchell had planned to create a video that he could use fraudulently as evidence that he had achieved the score of 1,062,800 in Donkey Kong.
Completely irrelevant.
Mr. Mitchell had callously expressed joy at the thought of Apollo Legend's death.
That's relevant. Finally something relevant.
Litigation to force third parties to recognize his achievements in video gaming.
Yeah, kind of relevant. Those first three, though, has nothing to do with this.
I have found that all of those contextual imputations were made in the video. All but one of them were substantially true. It was not true that he had planned to produce a fraudulent video.
Okay.
To be clear, I was not required to decide, nor did I decide, whether Mr. Mitchell had in fact cheated in gaining any of his world record scores. Mr. Jobst did not attempt to prove that that finding by Twin Galaxies was correct. Notwithstanding these findings, I have concluded...
Okay, so basically the cheating stuff, totally irrelevant to the case. It was continually brought up as a defense, but Jobst didn't try to prove it at all, and the judge has no reason to actually make a ruling on the cheating. because it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference to the statements about the suicide.
That the defamatory imputations made by Mr. Jobst that are the subject of Mr. Mitchell's claim have caused substantial additional damage to Mr. Mitchell's reputation and have caused him considerable additional distress. Therefore, Mr. Jobst is liable to pay damages to Mr. Mitchell for those defamatory imputations. I shall come shortly to the amount of those damages. Mr. Mitchell also asserted that Mr. Jobst's conduct in publishing the video and after doing so was unjustifiable and caused additional personal hurt to Mr. Mitchell and harm to his reputation, which justifies the court awarding additional damages known as aggravated damages. This conduct alleged by Mr. Mitchell included first, making the allegations recklessly and without checking their truth. Secondly, publishing the video twice. Thirdly, holding malice and pursuing a vendetta against Mr. Mitchell.
That's fucking true.
Mocking Mr. Mitchell's complaint about the video and his legal action. Fifthly, persisting in his contention that Mr. Mitchell's action against Apollo legend had contributed to his decision to commit suicide. And sixthly, failing to apologise and to withdraw the allegations.
Say sorry right now. You just got JD Vanced, Karl. Did you ever say thank you? Did you ever apologise? No, you didn't.
I have found that Mr. Jobst was reckless in making the allegations.
Reckless.
His assertions were based on a fallacy, namely that Apollo
fallacy,
had paid
fallacious.
Mitchell a large sum of money. That was simply wrong, and he had no reasonable
Simply
basis for asserting
wrong.
it. Yet even after finding out the truth, he has continued to assert that the settlement had a negative financial impact on Apollo legend, and that he still believes that the settlement was a contributing factor to his decision to commit suicide. Mr. Jobst was also reckless and vindictive in publishing the full video twice. At the time he republished it, he had been told by Mr. Mitchell via his response video, by their mutual acquaintance Keemstar, and by Mr. Mitchell's lawyers
Keemstar.
that what he had said about the payment was not true.
Even Keemstar's going, this isn't true, Karl. It's not true at all, Karl. And Karl's like, nah, I'm keeping it up. I'm republishing the financial part.
He told Keemstar that he would not republish that part of the video, and that he received concrete evidence that it was true. But by the time he republished it, he had not heard from Apollo Legend's brother, whom he had asked for information about the settlement, so he did not know any more than he had earlier, but he nevertheless decided to republish the entire video regardless.
Oh,
In his
you
evidence,
goofball.
He said that he did this because he thought Mr. Mitchell would sue him anyway. His attitude appears to have been, well, if I'm going to be sued, I may as well go for broke and damn the consequences. It was reckless and showed an absolute disregard for the truth or for the effect of his video on Mr. Mitchell.
Oh. You know, it is gratifying to see a YouTuber get taken down for, you know, a flagrant disregard for research. And it's even better that it's Mr. Approacher now.
Reputation. On 29 July 2021, that is about 6 weeks after he finally edited the video and took out the offending passage, Mr. Jobst published a video in which he retracted his statement that Apollo Legend had paid Mr. Mitchell money, and he apologised to his viewers for having given them incorrect information.
Won't be the last time that
He
happens.
relied on that video as being evidence of his bona fides and as reducing any harm caused to Mr. Mitchell by his original video. However, that video did not retract the imputations at all. It simply retracted the statement that Apollo Legend had paid Mr. Mitchell a large sum of money. Mr. Jobst did not apologise to Mr. Mitchell in any way, rather apologising to his viewers for having made an incorrect statement in the offending video. Also, this retraction video was, in total, a little over 30 minutes long. For the first 28 minutes and 24 seconds, it had nothing to do with arcade gaming, cheating, or Mr. Mitchell, but was about particular speedrunning. type of speedrunning. It then went blank for a few seconds before it returned with Mr. Jobs' alleged retraction statement, which itself lasted only about 45 seconds.
Burying it in the end of a
He
video,
said that Mr. Mitchell
unrelated
had
video.
tried to contact him to clear up the error, and he insinuated that he still believed that Mr. Mitchell was responsible for Apollo Legends' decision. Finally, Mr. Jobs' conduct of this litigation, together with his additional online comments about it, were aggravating features of his conduct. He seems to see himself in defending this claim as a crusader against Mr. Mitchell. He is the last of the defendants who have been sued by Mr. Mitchell, and the only one, apart from Mr. Race, who has not backed down. Even in February 2024, as this action was progressing toward trial, he said in an online interview, quote, "Billy Mitchell needs to be destroyed in court. These people need to be punished in a big way before they stop. They need to get taught a lesson. So I am now the last
So
chance.
true, Karl.
I am
So
the last
true.
chance the public has to punish Billy. And also, the last person on YouTube you want to lose to is me. You know there's going to be 100 vids rubbing it in. I will never let Billy forget this, assuming I win. I've got to win first, but man, if I win, oh boy, I'm not going to be a good winner." End quote.
What an asshole.
Mr.
What a
Jobs
fuckhead.
clearly intended to be the knight who slew the Mitchell dragon. Unfortunately for him,
What's this judge's name? This fucking...
his lance was not as strong as he believed it to be.
That's awesome.
And it has broken in the contest.
Hold on, we gotta listen to that again.
Intended to be the knight who win. Oh boy, I'm not going to be a good winner. End quote. Mr. Jobs clearly intended to be the knight who slew the Mitchell dragon. Unfortunately for him, his lance was not as strong as he believed it to be, and it has broken in the contest.
The judge basically just said Carl's cock doesn't work.
Found that all of this conduct has caused Mr. Mitchell additional personal harm and additional harm to his reputation. It was severely aggravating conduct that merits an award of aggravated damages. Again, I will come shortly to the amount of aggravated damages that I will award.
All right, this is amazing. I'm gonna grab a beer because I'm having a lot of fun here. Let's continue. Take a sip.
I was asked by each party to make adverse findings about the truthfulness of the other party's witnesses and the reliability or otherwise of their evidence. In my full reasons, I have given detailed consideration to those submissions. I don't propose to reprise that discussion and my conclusions now. Mr. Associate, can I have the judgment, please? Having made these findings, I consider that Mr. Mitchell is entitled to an award of damages against Mr. Jobst.
Again, I just want to restate, I don't think there should be defamation laws. I think you should be able to say whatever crazy, insane lie you want. That's my personal belief, but I know the legal system that I live under that controls me, and I know that I can't. And so it would be very silly of me to know that I can't say these things and say them anyway. And it would be reckless and irresponsible to be ignorant about the laws that control my actions. So, perfect world, Karl does not get punished, but in the world we live in, it's very funny that he is being punished.
Considered other comparative cases in order to help me to decide the appropriate amount. Under the Defamation Act of Queensland, the maximum amount of damages for non-economic loss, that is, general damages, not including any aggravated damages, is currently $478,500.
That's the max.
That amount can only be awarded in the most serious case. In addition, though, in appropriate cases, additional aggravated damages can be awarded, and there is no statutory limit on aggravated damages.
Infinite. Those are the maxes. Those are the maxes. General damages, 470k. Aggravated damages, and of which Karl owes both of these, infinite amount. Let's see what we get. Let's see what we get.
For reasons, any damages I award should be minimal or at least reduced due to two mitigating factors. One of those factors was that he published the so-called retraction video. For the reasons I've already mentioned about that video, I do not consider that it had any mitigatory effect. Rather, publishing the retraction at the time and in the manner he did was an aggravating feature of his conduct. He did not
His retraction didn't mitigate, it aggravated. This is awesome, dude.
publish it in a way that would draw it to the attention of the original audience, but instead essentially hid it from view. And of course, he did not retract any of the imputations against Mr. Mitchell, nor apologise to him. The second reason he gave for mitigation of damages was that Mr. Mitchell, he said, has contributed substantially to the harm he has suffered because he put the offending part of Mr. Jobs' video into his response video, saying, quote, "For those of you who haven't seen it, here's the clip," end quote. Mr. Mitchell's video showing that clip has remained online ever since. It has been downloaded at least 155,000 times. As I say in my reasons, this submission might be described as suggesting that Mr. Mitchell called in an airstrike on his own position. I disagree. Both by making the response video and by bringing this proceeding against Mr. Jobst, far from calling in an airstrike on his own position, it was necessary for Mr. Mitchell and reasonable for Mr. Mitchell to identify the enemy's position clearly in order to call in an airstrike on it.
What is this? What is this metaphor? Whatever, get airstruck, Karl.
That is what he has done. He made clear in his response video that he denied the imputations made by Mr. Jobst and that what Mr. Jobst had said was false. His conduct in publishing this video was reasonable and it does not justify any reduction in the amount of damages. Factors particularly relevant in determining the appropriate amount of damages include the number and seriousness of the defamatory imputations, the extent of their publication, the effects they have had on the plaintiff personally and on his reputation, and what is known as the grapevine effect. The grapevine effect is the likelihood that the defamatory imputations have been and will be repeated to other people over time, and they may even surface again after this judgment. The grapevine effect arises particularly in cases of defamatory imputations made on social media or other internet sites, including YouTube. In this case, there is ample evidence of the extent of the grapevine effect. It has been very extensive. The evidence is the number of comments on Mr. Jobs' video and also comments made on another online personality's videos about Mr. Mitchell, which even recently included assertions that Mr. Mitchell had caused or contributed to Apollo Legend's suicide.
Every time he says suicide, he goes a little sip.
Coming to the amount of damages that I will award.
I wonder who that other creator was. I wonder what video those statements were on.
Mr. Mitchell seeks $400,000 in general damages, that is, damages for non-economic loss, as it is described in the Defamation Act. In my view, that is too high, being too close to the maximum permissible amount. This is not one of the most serious cases, although it is at the higher end, especially given the most damaging imputation that Mr. Mitchell hounded Apollo Legend to death and the extent of publication. Mr. Mitchell's aggravating conduct has been serious and ongoing, including in his evidence at trial and in his publications about this litigation. It merits substantial aggravated damages, and Mr. Mitchell asked for $50,000 in aggravated damages.
I think he messed up. I think he said Mitchell when he meant Jobst there, but anyway.
I have concluded that there should be judgment for Mr. Mitchell in the sum of $300,000 for non-economic loss and $50,000 in aggravated damages. As I say in my reasons, he may well have been justified in being ordered to pay more than $50,000 in aggravated damages, but that is the amount sought by Mr. Mitchell, and that is the amount I shall award. In addition, Mr.
Damn. Could have gotten more. Could have gotten more from the aggravated damages.
Should pay interest on those amounts. Unless I receive submissions for some other order as to interest, it seems to me, from other cases, that the appropriate rate and period of interest will be 3% per annum from the first date of publication to today. That amounts to a total of $40,446.58.
He's got to pay interest for the period from the imputations. Oh, that is awesome.
Finally,
that's crazy.
Ordinarily, an unsuccessful party is ordered to pay the successful party's costs of the proceeding. At present, I see no reason why I should not make such an order against Mr. Jobst. However, I shall give the parties an opportunity to seek an alternative costs order, either now or by written submissions to be provided within 14 days, but preferably now. The judgment of the court is therefore 1. Judgment for the plaintiff for damages for non-economic loss in the sum of $300,000 plus interest, subject to either party seeking a different order as to interest upon delivery of this judgment or by filing and serving a written submission within 14 days, of $34,668.50. Judgment also for aggravated damages in the sum of $50,000 plus interest of $5,778.08, subject to either party seeking a different order as to interest upon delivery of this judgment or by filing and serving a written submission within 14 days. 2. Unless either party seeks a different order as to costs, either upon delivery of this judgment or by filing and serving a written submission within 14 days, the defendant pay the plaintiff's costs of this proceeding.
I saw somewhere Karl claiming that he had spent $600,000 on lawyers for this shit. Which, see, I almost don't believe that. It almost feels like it's more of the grift, which we'll get into, but if that's true, then Karl owes Billy Mitchell $1 million. You got to assume Billy spent about the same. That means it's $1 million. Ouch! That's gotta hurt.
With a short summary of those reasons. Both documents will be publicly available shortly on the Queensland Court's website. Are there any submissions on questions of interest and costs?
I'm prepared in a position to make submissions on costs today. The plaintiff's position was firstly costs should follow the event. That's implicit in what Your Honour has said. My client would seek costs firstly on the indemnity basis or alternatively on the standard basis. Can I start by taking Your Honour to Section 40 of the Defamation Act, please?
Do you have a copy there? I haven't brought it with me.
Yes, I do. I picked,
Thank you.
1 or 2 copies.
Just one, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And particularly, Your Honour, Section 42, Section 40, Sub 2, Sub A is relevant in the circumstances.
Yes.
Yes.
Pointing out matters in subsection 2, it's the court must, unless the interests of justice require otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And here we make the submission that the defendant has unreasonably failed to make a settlement offer, and settlement offer being defined in subparagraph 3, and particularly the last part of that definition, that was a reasonable offer at the time it was made.
Yeah. Is there any evidence that there's no such settlement offer?
Well, Your Honour, there was one offer made in the proceedings. Can I hand up a copy of that to you in terms of that? I'll hand up 2 copies, a working copy for your honour.
Thank you. The settlement offer being a letter from Mills Oakley to
That's Karl's lawyer's firm.
Malibu Samra lawyers on 23 May 2022 will be Exhibit 96 in the trial.
Thank you. Before making submissions on that document, can I hand up to Your Honour 2 relevant authorities, the principles applicable to Section 40? First is Nationwide News Proprietary Limited and Weather Up. It's 2018 1 QDR 19.
All right, some previous cases setting precedents. I've taken a law course before.
Justice Applegarth writing the decision from paragraph 60.
Sorry, 60?
68, paragraph 68 on page 41.
Yes.
Sets out there the relevant principles applicable. Your Honour has particular regard to the matters at paragraph 70 through to 73.
Pretty boring part. Watching a guy read. Just watching Billy's lawyer calling stuff out for the judge to read.
Yes.
The other authority is a decision of Wagner and 9 Network Australia, 2019 QSC 309. It's another decision of Justice Applegarth. And in this decision, Your Honour, the relevant paragraphs start at paragraph 6 through to 12, but with particular emphasis about what a reasonable settlement offer is discussed at 9 through to 12.
So how about that Studio Ghibli AI shit? Damn, that shit sucked. Not because I care about artists, just because it sucked. Rough year for Karl. 52 exposed. Losing to Billy Mitchell. Rough stuff. There's Karl's lawyer. Who's this nerd at the back? Who's that?
Well, particularly that last part of paragraph 12 is relevant in these circumstances.
I wish Karl were there.
Turning then, Your Honour, to two pieces of evidence. Firstly, there's the concerns notice and the response to the concerns notice, which were in the trial book at tabs 23 and 24.
Unfortunately, I didn't bring the trial bundle with me.
I appreciate, given the summary of Your Honour's reasons, that you've had good consideration of the concerns notice and the response to it. But relevantly there, in that concerns notice, and we looked at it in the course of the trial, where it was pointed out the fact that Mr. Mitchell had not paid any money as part of disputing what was said, and pointing out to him, Mr. Jobst, the inaccuracies in the video.
Mm-hmm.
And then Your Honour may recall the concerns notice, the response to the concerns notice, where every point is essentially taken. The imputations didn't arise, that there were defences of triviality, the reputational issues of my client, that there was a retraction video and there'd be no offer to make amends and no apology, are all relevant factors in the circumstances looking at Section 40, subsection 1 of the Act.
Yeah, so Karl's ridiculous response
Yes.
to the concerns notice
In terms of the
is an aggravating thing.
23 May
Give me more money.
2022 proposal that I've just tendered, can I point out the following matters in respect of that proposal? I'm using proposal here because when you look at paragraph numbered 5 of that proposal, this is not actually an offer that's capable of acceptance, and that it's said to be subject to a deed. Now, that ordinarily might not be controversial, but it might. And here, one of the terms that are proposed to be put in the deed is a confidentiality requirement, which obviously goes to the issue of vindication. So firstly, we say this isn't in fact an offer that's capable of acceptance, and therefore not a settlement offer in accordance with Section 40 of the Act. We also then say that
I'm not really following because I don't have the documents in front of me, but I guess what he's saying there is that there was no settlement offer, and this thing that could maybe be considered a settlement offer wasn't possible to accept, so therefore it cannot be a settlement offer. Therefore, there was no settlement offer. Therefore, damages, aggravated damages. Give me more money.
at the time it was made, using the language of Justice Applegarth that I've just taken Your Honour to, for the following reasons. Paragraph numbered 1 provided that Mr. Jobst pay the fully inclusive sum of only $3,000, which is on any measure significantly less than the damages that have now been awarded. Now, we understand fully inclusive, read with paragraph 4, to mean that that's inclusive of costs of the proceedings as well. Now, at this stage, at May 2022, the proceedings had been on foot for 9 months, and there had been 4 iterations of the defence filed to that time. Even my client's cost to that time exceeded the $3,000 in those circumstances. There is particularly no apology in the offer. And again, with the confidentiality requirement...
Did you say thank you? Did you say sorry? Did you say please?
Offer would be rendered nugatory anyway. There are authorities to say that the absence of apology isn't determinative, but it's certainly one of the factors to consider. And I understand Justice Applegarth made reference to this at paragraph 34 of the second decision, the Wagner and Nine Networks decision.
And this offer wasn't one made before the proceedings are determined as defined in Section 40.
It certainly wasn't made before, but subsection 3, Your Honour, 40, says whether made before or after the proceedings are commenced. So the fact that it was made after proceedings commenced wouldn't be determinative of the fact that it's not a settlement offer within the provisions of the Act.
A strange definition. It means any offer to settle proceedings made before the proceedings are determined. Oh, sorry, before they're determined.
Yes.
Yes.
But the fact that it's made after the proceedings are commenced, some 9 months after, with much work being done where it's an all-inclusive offer of only $3,000, we say when you look at whether it's reasonable at the time it was made, reflecting prospects of the matter, we say it's not a reasonable offer and not one, therefore, that complies with Section 40
Well,
subsection-
wait. So if she's saying that there was a settlement offer of $3,000, and that was supposed to be all inclusive, but there's been 9 months of legal proceedings. $3,000. That's day one of legal proceedings.
2A of the Act.
Sorry.
Yeah, that is not reasonable.
Of Justice Applecart's decision were you taking?
Yes, I'm sorry. Now, paragraph 34 is where His Honour discussed there the issue of the apology.
Oh, this might be specific to that case, not the Karl Jobst case.
I think one of the issues in that case is there was an offer made, a substantial offer made. Sorry, an offer of a substantial sum of money was made, but the issue was there was no apology in that case. And so part of the decision considered whether the lack of apology was material and whether it was a reasonable offer or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now here, there's been no suggestion of an offer of an apology at any time.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, we would seek the order for costs on the indemnity basis. Other than the issue of interest and costs, Your Honour, there's one other issue about security for costs that are in court that we'll need to deal with, but I'm happy to deal with that after submissions on cost, if that's convenient.
Yes, and what about interest? Do you have any submissions on interest?
No, Your Honour.
All right.
We'd obviously seek interest, but don't cavil with Your Honour's proposal at this stage.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Mr. DeWard.
All right. Carl's lawyer.
In
Here we go.
relation to cost, it would be difficult for me to resist an order for costs on a standard basis, given that they follow the event. The difficulty I'm having with dealing with these arguments on my feet, and I will request that I be given the 14 days to put in written submissions in relation to costs. The reason is this. My
I'm
learned
stupid.
friend has just taken, Your Honour, to certain arguments in relation to both the offer that was made and supplied two authorities and referenced Section 40 of the Act. The difficulty with those arguments, and ones in which I wish to expand on in writing, is the nature of the plaintiff's case at the time that the offer was made is entirely relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And if Your Honour tracks back through the various iterations of the statement of claim, it was a completely different case at that point in time.
How does it make much if any difference where no subsequent offer was made when the plaintiff's case was finalised?
It does, in my respectful submission, because the question of whether or not the offer was reasonable at the time necessarily involves looking at what the plaintiff's case was at the time. And their case has changed significantly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not willing to stand up now and make submissions about that for fear of getting it wrong, because I will in fact need to step Your Honour through the various significant changes of the plaintiff's statement of claim. Your Honour might also recall there were certain strikeout applications brought in relation to
This guy sucks.
versions of that statement of claim throughout the life of the proceeding. In my submission, those things are relevant. So in terms of resisting an order for indemnity costs, I will reserve the defendant's right to put on written submissions about it. That's the general basis of what those submissions will address, and I'll address each of the arguments that my learned friend has made.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't cavil with standard cost order. I can't.
Sorry, wouldn't cavil with
A
standard costs, yes. All right, what about interest?
I have no submissions in relation to interest.
No submissions. All right, well, the interest will be as I indicated in the judgment then.
All right. The interest is in.
I'll direct that the defendant file and serve any submissions on costs within 14 days of today.
So yeah, they're they're arguing over whether Karl should pay Billy Mitchell's legal fees.
The plaintiff filed.
And Karl's lawyer wants the 14 days to prepare a written statement in response to the plaintiff's arguments that he should,
Any submissions.
I don't know if this speaks of what standard cost versus indemnity costs are.
Within a further 7 days. And I'll reserve my decision on costs. Anything else either party wishes to raise?
Only the issue that...
Oh, you had another issue, didn't you?
Yes, my client was ordered to provide security for costs in the course of proceedings.
Beg your pardon?
My client was ordered in the course of proceedings to pay security for costs into court,
All right.
which he has done. We'd seek an order that security be released back to my client by payment to my instructing solicitors. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honour. It's in my instructing solicitors trust account. It wasn't paid into court. I'm
There's
sorry.
an undertaking to retain it in there.
Yes, that they be released from that immediately.
No reason why I shouldn't release it.
There's no reason I wouldn't resist having that undertaking removed.
All right.
So Billy Mitchell had to pay. Billy Mitchell had basically had to pay a deposit. He had to post bail. He had to put some money up as security because he's the plaintiff.
Undertaking or
I don't know the full ins and outs of that, but he wants that back now that he's won. Can I have my money back? Fair enough. This was great. I had a great time. I just like looking at this guy. Look at him. Right, there's 2 minutes left. It's almost over, guys. It's almost over.
I'm sorry. The issue is a little bit more complicated because there was a former solicitor, MBS Lawyers in Cairns or North Queensland. So I understand that there's both an order and an undertaking by which it was paid into a solicitor's trust account, then transferred to my instructing solicitor's account on their undertaking.
Right.
Perhaps if I could dig into the situation and provide Your Honour with a draft wording of an order, essentially so that money is released.
I suspect that would be by consent if I'm provided a copy.
Yes, all right. Well, I won't make an order today, but I will indicate that I will make an appropriate form of order to enable the amount held by way of security for costs to be released as soon as practicable.
Thank you. If Mr. DeWard and I can agree on the wording, may we email that to Your Honour's associate?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Today, please.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. DeWard, I know you've got another commitment today. So you'll be able to do that today, though.
That will be fine.
All right. All right, we'll adjourn court, please.
All rise. Now. Whew. Wild stuff. Wild stuff. Is there anything else funny in here?
You are
Welcome.
the only participant in the conference.
I'm the only participant in the conference. Well, there you go. So that was my reaction to the verdict. Yeah, interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Yeah, it really seems like Karl made these crazy defamatory statements. Hey, we all saw the verdict. So there you go. Again, I want to reiterate, I think defamation laws shouldn't exist, but they do. And if they do, Karl definitely broke them. And that in itself could be a defamatory statement, but I'm probably going to win that case if Karl tries to sue me for stating that he defamed Billy Mitchell. Because it's literally the definition of, like, having defamed someone is losing a case for defaming someone. So I think I will win that court case too. So feel free to sue me, Karl. That'd be very funny. But anyway, he's getting a lot of backlash online. So when this first dropped, it's like, whoa, fuck Billy Mitchell, what a prick. And then everyone watched the verdict, and everyone's like, Karl, I watched every single Billy Mitchell video you made, and I thought this court case was about Billy Mitchell cheating. I thought this was just yet another case of Billy Mitchell suing because someone destroyed his gaming reputation. And everyone's realizing that had basically nothing to do with the case at all. It was entirely about Apollo Legends' suicide. So, like, everyone's, like, mad. Everyone feels misled by Karl, which, is fair enough. I would feel misled too. That's what I thought it was about. Again, I'm not really following it very closely. But, yeah, that's what I thought it was about. And it really seems like he, disingenuously misled his audience. Now, part of this whole thing was Karl set up a GoFundMe to help fund his legal defense against Billy Mitchell. And so people gave him money. Like, this is why people are upset. It's not that he lied about what the case was about. He actually asked for money from his audience, and they gave it to him. And I think maybe, like, Notch gave him money as well. Like, he got a lot of money. I haven't seen the GoFundMe. I don't know how much, but I think it was, like, a lot of money. And so people gave money under the pretense that Billy Mitchell was suing because Karl said he cheated at Donkey Kong, when really the case was about the statements about Billy Mitchell causing Apollo Legends suicide. Now, Karl has responded to this, and his response is along the lines of, well, this was the initial lawsuit was about Apollo Legend, but then Billy Mitchell was threatening a second and a third lawsuit about the video game stuff. And so I asked for money to defend, not from the Apollo Legend case. No. I was asking money for the other court cases. I was asking for money to defend against the frivolous court cases, not the Apollo Legend one, which is sort of ridiculous on its face. Like, it's all the same thing. Like, it's all your legal costs against Billy Mitchell, right? There's no real way to differentiate it. So, like, the funds were used for this court case. The other cases never went anywhere. I don't know if they were even brought forward, but, like, they didn't go anywhere. Like, this was the case. So, they were used not to defend against those ones. But he claims he didn't ask until the second and the third one came in. Which, yeah, it's like, it really feels like to me that, he sort of intentionally planned these sort of technicalities and these sort of plausible deniabilities so that he can make statements like that no, I was asking for money for the cheating allegations, to sort of, like, weasel his way out of, like, responsibility for misleading his audience. It really feels like that's what he's done. He intentionally and cleverly manipulated what his audience believes, and then has used that manipulation of their beliefs to get a bunch of money out of them to defend against this court case, the actual one we just watched the verdict for. So I think people are totally justified in feeling, like, misled from him, and his claim that no, I asked for money for the second and the third, the frivolous lawsuits. It's just, it doesn't land for me. I don't really buy it. I think everyone's absolutely right to feel lied to and like they've been scammed, because they kind of have, He never, nobody knew that this was about Apollo Legend. Nobody knew that at all. And so everyone's, like, shocked. So, So to recap, Karl, very weird guy, not a particularly good guy. You know, done weird pickup artistry grifting. You know, kind of an asshole to pretty much everyone in the GoldenEye community. And you know, and now he's defamed Billy Mitchell, as he's been found guilty of. You know, he implied Billy Mitchell was responsible for Apollo Legends' suicide, which, you know, like, you could argue that it's sort of like a contributing factor, that it's like a sort of a catalyzing event, but like, healthy, happy people don't kill themselves over deleting YouTube videos, you know? Like, clearly, it wasn't the thing that just happened to happen the last couple months before he killed himself. It was his entire life that caused him to kill himself, as is true for most suicides. You know, we can speculate all day about Apollo Legends' upbringing, but I bet his life involved a lot of sadness, a lot of depression, a lot of loneliness and isolation. You know, that's why young men kill themselves. Anyway, so yeah, he's defamed Billy Mitchell. What else has Karl done? And then he's manipulated his audience, and intentionally obfuscated the true nature of this lawsuit. And he's used that sort of that false narrative to get money out of his audience. You know, not to mention the thousands of dollars of ad revenue he's made by shitting out 400 Billy Mitchell videos. Like, the story changed enough to be worth that many videos, you know. So, you know, he's been profiting off Billy Mitchell's misfortune he brought upon himself, sure, but he's been profiting off Billy Mitchell for years and years and years to enormous amounts, and he's making horrifyingly illegal and wrong statements, you know. So it's like this all blew up in his face, and he kind of deserves it for lying to his audience, for making insane claims. Even after Keemstar told him they were false, he re-uploaded them. So, yeah. There are a lot of people in the GoldenEye community that have sort of been expecting that this would happen to Karl eventually, in some fashion. That at some point he would do something that would cause his audience to sort of turn on him. We've been anticipating it for a while, and it's finally happened. So, there you go. That's my thoughts, my reaction to the verdict, and my thoughts on the man, the myth, the absolute legend himself, Karl Jobst. Damn. All you have to do is, like, not be a prick, and don't say crazy shit. Anyway, I also, I found this insane image. I found this crazy image. Look at this crazy image. This is some crazy image. I found it during my research. I also want to just to go out. We're gonna go out on we're gonna go out on a little YouTube video. This was uploaded today by a GoldenEye speedrunner as an April Fool's joke. This was his proof video for an Untied World Record, and let's just let's watch it. I'm just gonna pause while I set up the screen capture. All right, folks, that's Hateful Twerp 3. That's me, full of hate for Karl Jobst. Now you know my truth. Let's go out on this lovely video. Goodbye, everybody.
I used to roll the dice. dead in my enemy's eyes. Listen as the crowd would sing. Now the old king is dead. Long 1 minute I held my nose. Next my doors were closed on me, and I discovered sands upon pillars of salt and pillars of salt and pillars of salt and pillars of salt. I hear Jackie Chan singing, oh my God.